So can you walk me through what this, like what your plans are for this model train thing is? Because I don't understand.
It's the Bessemer Lake Erie Railroad in 1952 in HO scale. So, been working on the basement for about a year, getting just about ready to start actually building the railroad. So, on this wall is kind of the beginning of where everything will start and end on the railroad. The railroad's going to be 2.5 decks really, but we'll think of it as 2 decks. But starting here on the main deck, this will be Conneaut, Ohio, which is the Great Lake port where everything comes on and off the boat. So starting here in Conneaut, trains will be going south in this direction, and pretty much south will always be your left as you're looking at the railroad. So as we're here and following the railroad around south, we'll be kind of coming out of the port of Conneaut. As we round the curve here, we'll cross under the New York Central and the Nickel Plate Road, working around this wall. Floating around that curve, we'll come up into a small yard here for Cranesville, Pennsylvania. And it will be a really shame. Cranesville yard in real life is massive. We'll have to make it very tiny for the railroad here.
Oh, that's okay.
The Cranesville yard by itself would more than fill up this basement in HO scale. But coming around this wall out of Cranesville, we'll come into Albion, PA on this wall.
And this is in the 50s?
Yeah, so this will be the end of steam, the beginning of diesel, kind of the changing of the guard on the railroad. So coming into Albion, Pennsylvania, we'll have the feed mill, the depot, some of the recognizable buildings in Albion. We'll loop out around the curve around that wall, just kind of out in the countryside. This wall in Conneautville, PA, there's a grain silo in there in Conneautville. It's very recognizable. We'll make a model of that. Work our way out around this wall. And as we run down this wall on the main deck, this will be a place called the Hearthstone Swamp, where the railroad crossed a swampy area. On I-79, there's a bridge that crosses the same swamp at Cochranton.
PA?
Yeah, and everybody seems to know that bridge. Everybody likes to speed across it, the Cochranton exit. But the railroad crossed out on a causeway at the Hearthstone Swamp. So, railroad will come through here. We'll hit a point called KO Junction, where the line splits. And one route kind of takes a shortcut past Greenville. The other route goes through the town of Greenville. So, we'll work our way out around the end of this wall, and out here, this will be more like a tabletop section of the railroad.
Like freestanding, you said.
Yeah, freestanding. So out in this area, this will be a very large engine terminal with a turntable roundhouse, all the railroad shops with all my locomotives displayed. And there won't be a second deck above this. I'll have couch, sitting area, TV mounted on the side of the locomotive shops here. But if you were just following your train, you'd have to walk out around the end of the shops here and come back in here. Along this wall, this will be the actual town of Greenville.
And this is the last wall, if I'm correct, that you actually have to finish putting drywall up with? Okay.
Yeah, 10 more sheets of drywall and I'm done drywalling. It's been a long project.
It has.
So coming along this track, come through the town of Greenville, the KO line will be, where we branched off on the other side, will be running about 8 inches higher in the background.
Because you said it's mountainous.
It's mountainous, and I'm kind of building it backwards just because of how the railroad works. In real life, the KO line stays level, where the tracks into Greenville dive down into a valley and then climb back out. Well,
you want to represent that.
Yes, but it doesn't really work for the way I'm trying to build the model. So in my world, Greenville line is sort of level, and the KO line climbs up a hill, which is backwards to real life. But
Gotcha. I understand though.
the idea
Yeah.
will stay the same. The tracks are on different levels.
Yep.
So coming around this curve in this area will be Sagertown. Not Sagertown. I always say Sagertown. It's an S name, and for some reason it always slips in my mind. But there is a small yard there.
It's a PA thing?
Shenango.
Shenango.
So there'll be a small yard here for Shenango. And at Shenango, the Erie Lackawanna cross, the Bessemer had an interchange there, so I'll represent that. There'll be some dummy tracks crossing with Erie Lackawanna trains exchanging cars with the Bessemer. So that'll happen somewhere in this area. As we come into this corner, this whole area here will just be a giant corkscrew. In modeling terms, we call it a helix, where the trains will come in and start climbing up and climbing up and climbing up, and it will gain about 20 inches and we'll be up on deck 2. Starting
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
So you want to cut that there? And
Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting.